In the best of the worlds, a child's place is at school. But what do these young people do in markets, on street, before a herd of oxen, and in the deep galleries of gold panning sites? We always hear the same answer from east to west, from south to north, under the African sky. It's poverty that led us here in this mess where we are striving for better conditions.
I work at the trading post. I crush the clothes of earth, and they are taken and sold to those who buy them. I have not been to school.
More than 130 million of children in the world have no access to basic education. 2 out of 3 are girls. With a population made up of 52% of women, the high number of illiterate women pulls Africa's global literacy rate down. A big challenge to development.
We think that women today stand for 53% of the population in Mauritania, and this social category is mainly excluded as long as they do not attend school. They are not productive, do not participate in the effort of the economic development, therefore Mauritania cannot be developed.
We lead a certain number of fights we are not able to win because most of the women are ignorant. The issue of planning, the very issue of the education of children, these are issues we cannot address if women remain ignorant.
There are challenges with development. How to face this challenge of development when you have more than 52% of your population in obscurities, ignorance, and illiteracy? It is impossible because education is the key to development. Education given in family is not enough. One should learn to read, to write, in order to communicate out of the family, communicate with other societies, other countries, to keep oneself informed.
Education and development are not mere theories. They are tangible realities that Mrs. Amina Kone takes into account in her turnover. Mrs. Kone leads the company for the industrial processing of cashew based in Banfora in the west of Burkina, a company at the conquest of the international market.
Aujourd'hui, moi j'emploie vraiment beaucoup de femmes. Peut-être sur les 400 employés, je dois avoir...
Today, I really hire a lot of women. I should perhaps have 300 to 320 women out of the 400 employees. Among the 320 women, there are perhaps 200 who do not know how to write their names. Being in the food processing domain, it requires hygiene, a certain traceability to find oneself on the international market. Many things are required. I can tell you that it is complicated. Training opportunities exist abroad, but I cannot send them. If they had a certain level of education, today we should have perhaps been a bit more than where we are now. But we are obliged to do with that, because we have no choice, because we have a vision, a social constituent we want to develop.
On a un volet social qu'on veut développer.
School is the light that brings progress and prosperity. Kadesila is sorry she did not get this opportunity. At the fish market of Conakry, she strives with determination to ensure all her children's school fees. It's a revenge she takes on fate. She could not attend school because of a lack of means.
Today, there are men and women who are ministers, so I found it good for my children to go to school. Even if they do not reach that level, at least their fellows will not be able to deceive them.
Poverty, parents' ignorance, prejudices on school values are the real causes of women illiteracy. Everywhere, the same causes restrict the girl to the household chores, to the role of mother and homemaker.
The problem is the culture. The culture has gave us a negative impact on girls. And for example, if you come, boys, they are encouraged to play football. But for girls, she has to go to kitchen. She has to prepare food. And also early marriage was common. That also one of obstacles for girls' education.
In Mauritania, 600,000 of Negro Africans, commonly known as Haritines, live in servitude in this 21st century, a situation that is not favorable to the schooling of children from these families submitted to slavery. To this cause is added another limiting factor, the increase in the number of divorces that turn several women into heads of households.
The majority of divorces are due to women's ignorance, the fact that the woman did not attend school. In most of the dislocated families, the majority of mothers are women who did not get the opportunity to go to school. When a man divorces his wife in that country, she is generally told to live with her children. She finds herself with dependence. She did not get any school education when she was young in households led by these women. Girls' schooling rate is somehow decreasing.
In its request to the American government to benefit from the Millennium Challenge account, girls' schooling level was found as a great weakness of Burkina Faso. There was a need to work towards improving this indicator that increases the impact of investment to support the global economic growth and significantly reduces the incidence of poverty.
De quoi parle le texte?
La veille de la rentrée.
Donc le texte parle de la veille de la rentrée.
This justifies the launching of the BRAD program, a program for the construction of schools and the increase of girls' education. In this context, the slogan of the authorities in charge of basic education was "Zero Girl at Home."
Nous avons lancé ce slogan "Zéro fille à la maison."
We launched the slogan "Zero Girl at Home" to call out to the whole educated community, especially people's parents, traditional and religious authorities, on the important role they have to play in the implementation of strategies to increase the schooling of girls. Launching this slogan, "Zero Girl at Home," we want to tell these key stakeholders that no girl should stay at home, whatever the reason.
À la maison pour aucune raison.
No girl at home. The Marvelous educators relate the slogan to their communities in Yaga, a province in the Burkinabe Sahel, which has one of the lowest school rates of the country. For the enrollment of pupils in grade 1, they go round the villages and surroundings with the teacher to register all the children having school age, and especially girls. They did not only involve themselves for the registration of children, they developed initiatives to support education up to keep the collective field fattening activities in order to generate incomes and provide to the village school needs.
Last year, we harvested 5 sacks of peanuts. We sold 4 sacks and kept 1 for seeds. The receipts were used to buy lamps. Children can study at night. We benefited from a financial support of 300,000 francs CFA. We bought 15 goats and we are doing fattening.
In the rural area, sending a girl to school is to do without a precious support in household chores that society usually assigns to women. Going to the field, fetching water, fetching wood, grinding millet, looking after children and the whole family. A daily hard task for a mother to do without her daughter's support. Sending all girls to school is an objective that cannot be achieved without backup measures. The NGO Tintoa that operates mainly in the eastern part of Burkina Faso has developed initiatives for that purpose. The creation of multifunctional platforms relieves women and enables them to get time not only to send their daughter to school but also to attend literacy classes.
The meal was a great relief for us. We had to come back from the fields, grind millet, cook the meal, and look after children. It was very hard. If the meal was not there, we would not have got time for literacy classes. Previously, we had to take millet to the mill before going to Fada for school. Now, we only care about one thing when we leave home, school. We can even revise our lessons at the village mill because there is light there.
In many places in Burkina Faso, these mills and energy generators change communities' life. Thanks to the mills, a culture of writing and management was developed. Knowledge achieved in literacy centers are applied in daily life. Literate women are empowered through what they have achieved as knowledge. All this gives rise to more interest for school or the literacy center.
Il y a une différence maintenant entre les femmes qui ne vont pas à l'alphabétisation.
There is a difference between women who attend literacy classes and those who do not. First of all, at the level of attitude and behavior, they are no more the same. Sometimes in the market you can see a woman who removes her pen from her hair and a piece of paper from her loincloth to take notes and put everything at its place before going on. There is also a difference between the income of literate women and illiterate women. They are making a difference thanks to their increased material wealth. They know how to make profitable what they have learned through their activities.
Ce qu'elles ont appris à travers les activités qu'elles mènent.
Girls' early marriage hardly hinders effort for the development of basic education of the continent. For instance, in the Horn of Africa and mainly in Ethiopia, 2 out of 3 girls are married between 7 and 17 years old. Such marriages are arranged by families that are most of the time poor and aim at improving their economic situation. This phenomenon also concerns Burkina Faso, mainly in the rural area where girls are promised to marriage while they are still babies.
Young girls are usually flattered and believe that getting married will provide them a better life than. In fact, it is a matter of reducing the number of people at home because girls are considered as foreigners. So, enrolling them in school is an investment that will benefit another family.
Marriage goes against the tide of education, and this often results in conflicts, especially when the girl tries to be against the will of her parents.
Nous avons vécu
We came across several cases of promised girls who wanted to continue school after succeeding in the primary education certificate exam. But the boys and even the girls' families agreed to remove her from school. We went to the departmental court and we have to reimburse the dowry of 3 girls for 3 years. It sets the girls free and they could continue their studies.
At the Burkina-Niger border, girls in Sella would have liked to go further in their education. Unfortunately, once they have the primary education certificate, they are compelled to give up school. The high school is in Dori at 100 kilometers, and it is difficult for parents to send their children there without guardians.
All of us did not get a guardian there. As for boys, they can manage if their parents can afford for the rent. It's difficult for a girl to live alone in town. For a girl to study properly, she needs physical security. The government must build infrastructures to accommodate girls so as to prevent parents who want to marry their daughters from getting access to them. Some accommodation centers need to be set up even if it is at regional level for girls to continue school.
In Addis Ababa, girls go abroad because they cannot continue school, mostly in Dubai and other Asian countries of opportunity where they hope to make a fortune.
When I finish my school, I go to some country to help my family, and I go Dubai. And when I finished, I stayed 3 years. My family, they have too much baby, so they cannot pay for all baby. So I have to pay for maybe for 1-2 sisters. That's why I go Dubai to work and to bring money.
So many people, so many girls, so many women, they like to go to school, they like to learn anyone. If they get chance, they can do whatever, what they want, they can do anything. But in Ethiopia, they do have chance to go to school. Maybe she can graduate only, but after that she cannot continue because we have many problems.
Some courageous women have fulfilled their dream to go further in education. In Nouakchott, Mrs. Peagay is an example. She was revealed as a businesswoman. She works in the sector of second-hand cars import, fish export, hotel business and tourism.
I am the first woman to do second-hand cars business. I used to go to Europe to buy second-hand cars and import them in Mauritania to sell. I noticed there is plenty of fish in our country, so I said, why not try the fish business? I was almost the first woman to export fish to European and African countries. Girls' schooling is compulsory. There is a need of minimum to be able to start. You have to develop your mind. If you are bright, the rest is a matter of luck. And luck is for everybody. You have to be ambitious and persevering to have everything in your hands.
But from school to company or to a high civil servant career, the road is still long and full of obstacles. How many girls have seen their dream go further in their education fade away after an unwanted or early pregnancy?
I got a child while I was still studying, and it had consequences on my studies because of the delay I had. Moreover, I could not take care of my child. I found myself with an unwanted pregnancy. Anyway, this year I was not able to complete the school year. I was afraid and was always sick. I missed several classes and could not take part in any test. I could not catch up in my lessons. I did not attend school all that year round.
Estelle and Philomene could have abandoned their studies if they did not have mothers who are very committed to keeping girls at school. In Zorgo, a town of Burkina Faso, They are called the Red Guard. If a girl is absent from a class, they are on the alert, ready to defend the unfortunate.
We said no to all those who get our daughters pregnant because we register many unwanted pregnancies here in Zorgo. As soon as we are informed of a case, we go to the area and meet both the girls and parents. If the responsible of the pregnancy does not want to take his responsibilities, we go to the social matters service, to the security forces service, or even before the courts so that these girls could be cared for.
Globally, there is a real progress in Africa. Governments are promoting the construction of schools and hire teachers. Communities commit themselves and multiply initiatives. The schooling rate doubled in less than 10 years. In some classrooms, parity is reached. In Burkina Faso, the political decision to make education compulsory and free of charge until 16 years is boosting the development of education sector. According to the United Nations, Ethiopia might be one of the rare countries to reach the Millennium Development Goals with a schooling rate close to 80%. Guinea is also concerned.
Il faut saluer quand même les efforts du gouvernement qui ont permis
the government's effort that contributed to raise the growth rate of schooling from 28% to 80% in 2007 should be acknowledged. And in this percentage, one must say there are 63% of girls.
63% sont des filles.
It is low compared to other countries, but when we know where we are coming from, these figures are fairly satisfactory.
Qui sont quand même assez satisfaisants.
The results are encouraging regarding primary school education, but not for secondary and higher education. The number of girls dwindle away as we go up in the education system. At university where the elite are formed, the number of girls drastically decreases in scientific departments that are considered to be difficult. The gap between boys and girls is even more abyssal.
La première année du primaire,
97% of girls have access to the first year of primary school, but the problem resides in keeping them at school. From the 5th year of primary school onwards, there is a drastic girls' school loss rate. Only 47% of the girls who had access to the first year of primary school reach the 6th year. Many obstacles account for that. First of all, there are socio-cultural obstacles, among which mentalities, mainly in rural areas. The fact that people do not understand the necessity of schooling girls. But there are also obstacles linked to poverty.
It took Genevieve Cabré an exceptional courage to dare study mathematics and extraordinary perseverance to become today the first woman to have defended a doctorate degree at the University of Ouagadougou. It is in this domain that the Forum of African Women Educationalists made a lot of efforts starting from the secondary school to demystify sciences and foster women's excellence in biology, in exact and applied sciences.
We witnessed a poor representation of women in the higher cycles, even in the secondary school cycles, mainly in scientific and technical subjects.
Qui s'inscrivent en mathématiques. L'Union africaine se préoccupe essentiellement de la présence des femmes dans le domaine des sciences.
The African Union is mainly concerned with the presence of women in the domain of sciences. The absence is more scandalous there. So we are launching a competition to select the best scientific female candidates in Africa.
On va sélectionner là 2 femmes.
In each of our 5 regions, we will select 2 women, the best at science subjects, the sciences of earth and life, and another one in fundamental sciences and engineering sciences. At the regional level, it is only women. It is a way of asking our women to try hard.
Vraiment de s'accrocher.
The domain of the promotion of girls' education is wide and multi-sectoral as a wide integrated development program. Political leaders, non-governmental stakeholders and communities are committed to that, each one with his or her vision, his or her means. As far as Africa is concerned, each one seems to work in isolation. The necessity to create a supernatural organization to coordinate, analyze, and direct actions at the African level became an imperative as early as 1993, following the Pan-African Conference on Girls' Education held in Ouagadougou the same year.
It happened that the African Union does not have such an institution either.
De cette nature non plus. En Afrique,
in Africa, there are associations, NGOs that work in this domain, but there is no public institution in charge of it. So, the African Union Conference held in July 2004 found that the proposal of Burkina relevant and took the decision to make CFA a specialized institution of the African Union.
Cette conférence de faire de CFA une institution de l'Union africaine, une institution spécialisée de l'Union africaine.
This reaction of the African Union encouraged UNESCO that decided to attribute to CFA the status of a center of category 2.
Statut de centre de catégorie 2.
Through CFA, the African Union has both an observatory on the situation and the development of girls' and women's education in Africa and a center of reference, research, and sharing of best practices that lightens the action of the stakeholders committed on the field.
La première étude que nous avons publiée,
the first study we published is entitled Inventory of Innovative Experiences Related to Girls and Women's Education in West and Central Africa. This study was published in March 2003 and popularized in countries. It thus enabled countries to be informed on what is done in Ghana, Gambia, and Burkina.
Stakeholders found a real interest in the institution, and there are very strong expectations that require from public authorities a great attention on the necessity to grant CFA adequate means for actions.
Nous avons demandé au CFA de faire des études
We asked CFA to do researches on stereotypes in school books and the elimination of these stereotypes so that girls can be in good working conditions even through the teaching aids they use.
À travers même le matériel didactique qu'elles utilisent.
Selon les constats que nous avons faits au niveau des hôpitaux,
according to records we made in maternity hospitals, more girls were born compared to boys. So, there must be a specialized work, that is to say, a work solely directed towards girls' schooling. Because if a girl is ignorant, she knows nothing about her rights and duties. If she is not enrolled at school, she becomes a burden.
Scolarisée, elle devient, c'est-à-dire un poids.
Cette structure spécialisée,
CFA is a specialized structure to which the Commission has not been able to grant its true place within its structures. We will try to remedy this in the coming weeks and months so that this structure, which has an African dimension, can really assume this vocation and be of great use to the whole of the African continent. It is our duty to give it this dimension, to give it the means of its action and vocation.
De lui donner toute sa dimension, de lui donner les moyens de son action, de lui donner les moyens de sa vocation.
To educate the girl is to educate the whole nation. It is to make her a citizen, a key stakeholder of development. It is to rehabilitate 52% of the African population in future, when the great majority of the population of our countries are able to read, write, calculate and analyze, when education would have opened the eyes of the other half of the sky, free the chain of backward traditions, for sure the female majority will be both an economic and political power. that power will also reflect the face of the real fighters, women up to now confined to the role of simple electors, far from the decision-taking bodies. Because as Professor Kizeru put it so well, without women, history is one leg. History would only be human if it walks on its two legs.
Centre international pour l'éducation des filles et des femmes en Afrique. Présent. Nous vous faisons chevalier de l'ordre du mérite burkinabé avec Agraf Action Sociale.
Bonton wadi gambayin bandi kalabasari man nigiri